Hello, hello. Go ahead, I'm just getting everything set up. Um, as you come in, let me know if the music and the mic volume are okay. Alrighty, alrighty. Finished up the page I was working on yesterday. That was page 14 of issue 3, so today we'll be working on page 15 of issue 3. But here's the here's where page 14 ended up after working on it. So all in all, I think it came out pretty good. I like the flow of it. I think everything's kind of balanced and weighted between the tones and the lights and darks and whatnot. So. But yeah, pretty fun page to do. So yeah, that's what we're working on yesterday. Page 14. So today we'll be working on page 15. So she's jumped into this alien ship, and now she jumped into the alien ship to rescue a friend. So she's just working her way through the ship, finds these little aliens. So yeah. If you have any questions, just let me know. I am hopping between a few different streaming platforms, so if I don't get to you right away, I'm not ignoring you. Just have to do some clicking around. Get my reference up. So I hope everybody's having a good day so far. I'm gonna go ahead and I want our head to be a little more round up there. I guess let's get the vector out and just get rid of these lines. There we go. we go. Make the head a little more round. Hey, Vuitron from Vietnam. How you doing? Appreciate you hopping on, being here. How you doing today, my friend? Cool, good to hear. Are you an artist yourself? Or are you just kind of interested in the process? It's a little bit of both, actually. This is my work. I am being paid to do this, but I am a partial creator on this story, I Hand Voice. I've been working with James, the writer of this book. We've worked on the series on and off for like the last 12 years. So in between other projects of ours and life and whatnot. So we've been working on this story for quite a while. But yeah, so I mean, it's work, yet it is a personal project. Yeah, for sure. It's been a fun project. We're aiming to kind of finish it now. It's a 7-issue series. This is issue 3. So we're looking to tie up the story, finish it up. Oh, I appreciate that. I'm glad you found the tutorials useful. And that's the biggest thing for me is that whatever I'm doing here, I'm just hoping that it helps other people get better at their art. Sometimes when I create a tutorial and whatnot, I'm always not worried, but I guess again, my main goal really is just always that it's helpful and will help people progress in their art and what they do. The journey of an artist is definitely a long journey. I mean, essentially, it's something that, like, I mean, I know I'll be drawing and painting the rest of my life. So for me, it's certainly a lifelong journey. So anything that I can do on this channel, whether it's the live streams, the tutorials, to help other people move along on their quest to become better at drawing or painting, that's what it's all about for me. So super stoked to hear that. What kind of art do you like creating? When did I start drawing? I mean, I've always drawn. I mean, I guess like most people, right? I've always drawn when I was a kid. It was probably about, I don't know, between 9 and 11 when I got like my first comic and Marvel Comics, How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way, that drawing book. As soon as I got my hands on that, I was nonstop drawing. You know, every character that I could. So, I mean, my love for art started when I was very young and drawing, but as far as, because I drew a lot when I was younger, and then as I got older, when I got into, I guess mainly like high school and stuff like that, I started getting distracted with other things, right? I guess like most kids and stuff do. So I started getting distracted with friends and stuff, and it wasn't until about, actually closer to 20 years now at this point, where yeah, about 18 years or so ago, I kind of fell in love with drawing again, kind of came back around to it, fell in love with it again. So it's been about 18 years. I fell back in love with drawing as I got a little bit older. I was just I just started college, so I got back into drawing. I was drawing comics a lot, all the time. And then I started teaching comics workshops at local art stores and comic book shops in my area and whatnot. And that was about 15 years ago that I started doing that. So I started making some money at art. I figured, yeah, you know what, this is what I want to do. So, you know, I've had some a lot of ups and downs over the years. Plenty of times where, like, you know, working other jobs and everything like that. I mean, even now I still do some stuff on the side, but just to keep everything flowing and whatnot. But yeah, I dived back into art, studied as much as I could, picked up everything that I could, and then over the course of, you know, yeah, the last about 12, 15 years or so, continuing to build up my art skills, I not too far from where I used to live, there was an art guild, still is, an art guild where they would have weekly figure life drawing sessions and portrait drawing sessions. So when I was living out there, I was a little bit closer than I am now. I was doing that about 3 times a week over the course of a few years, and that helped me out tremendously. That really, for me, was what helped me learn lighting and form, and although I was just working in charcoal at the time, really understanding light, learning how lighting works. You can move into painting and stuff pretty easily after that. So that was really kind of like my main art education almost, was my time there at the Art Students Guild, and doing that sort of practice, which I would highly recommend if you have the chance to do that. If not, there's plenty of great resources online, so you could just do figure drawing and life drawing, portrait drawings from references that you find and collect online, so you could certainly do that. Doing it in a classroom environment where somebody's actually standing up in front of you kind of helps progress maybe a little bit more quickly, because you are watching this person occupy real 3D space right in front of your eyes. So it's a little bit easier to see how lighting will wrap around the arm, or how it affects the features of the face, and how you can use different rendering techniques and shading in order to to get a likeness out of it. And then one of the things I think helped me the most is art for me is very shape based. Like, no matter what you're doing, whether it's super cartoony work or even more realistic work, like even if in a more realistic portrait drawing, everything really is about shapes and how you relate those shapes to the shapes around it that then cue us into seeing a nose, eye, or certain features, like for me, I'm never really drawing a nose, right? You can't actually draw a nose. A nose is something that's attached to a human face. It's there. It's a physical object, right? It's a nose. I can't actually draw that, but what I can do is I can draw lines and shapes and organize them and arrange them in a way next to each other to where when you look at it, it resembles and invokes the idea of a nose. And that's all what really drawing is, it's breaking down how we see and interpret information in the real world, and finding ways that we could be kind of clever with that. Let's get some. There we go. Just want to bring some variation in the back a little bit, just have some highlights. Yeah, I mean, it definitely depends on what type of artwork you're doing, but I mean, for me, yeah, I mean, a lot of things really come down to shape. Even when we're creating characters, like, when we start with, just for instance here, see. So if you're talking about like drawing a head, we don't come in here and just start with hair, right? Okay, so now I got hair. So now I'll draw like temple and his cheek here. So he's got his ear. You know, I mean, we don't really create a head that way, right? By just drawing the outside shape of the head. What we'll typically end up doing is we'll start with a shape that represents the head, right? Then I'll come in the middle. I'll split it in half to find the center line of my face. Again, horizontally to find where I'm going to put the eyes. Put our hash marks in there for the nose. Now I can start just chiseling away at it and adding additional shapes. So that circle there, this one here represents the temple. So you'd have your hairline here, the temple. Helps you figure out where that hairline is going to go. Forehead to the top of our brow. Cheeks down to the chin. So we use the shape in order to get to the head there, right? Hey, Russ. Thanks for hopping on. I just hopped over here on Twitch. Again, I'm going between a few different screens here and whatnot, so thanks for being here. Okay, sounds back. Good. That's good. I don't know. I don't really get it. I don't get a notification on my end whether or not the sound drops out or not. I'm going to figure out a better way of... Yeah, I gotta figure out a better way of getting all three of my screens on one so I can see chats, because I got chats in 3 different platforms. It's hard for me to keep up. But yeah, I mean, back to like the shape thing. So, you know, we needed to use a shape to draw the head here. Hold on, we'll get back there, okay? And then even when you're going to create like a cartoon character, you know, you might start with a simple overall shapes. To get started. I don't even know what this thing is supposed to be, but point is you know, you're using just these little basic shapes to kind of get started. You know, whether it's this beanbag shape, different head shapes. So yeah, for me, I mean, shape really does a lot. Because like, again, even going back to like the talking about creating a nose, you know, like that's not a nose. That's just lines placed and arranged in a certain order that gives us the idea that, oh, okay, yeah, it resembles a nose. So art is really a lot about learning how we see things and how the mind interprets what we actually see, because our eyes only pick up so much information. The rest of that information is then put together, combined, and analyzed by our brain. And that's how something as simple as a smiley face could be recognizable. You know, our mind's filling in the rest of that information, the happy face, and all of that. So, but yeah, I've got a couple of videos on my YouTube page that talk about using shape for certain character design elements, and then in future videos I'll be talking a lot more about it as well, especially once we start getting into painting. Learning how to draw these simple shapes and then manipulating the simple shapes in perspective really comes in handy later on when we start moving into light and shadow and painting. I remember painting for me was always this big deal. It was always very hard for me to understand and wrap my head around. I was always making it way more complicated than it needed to be, because I would always look at these paintings. I would always kind of be like, well, how do you know what colors to use? And that really is secondary in painting, you know. The number one most important thing in a painting is values and how those values read, which is your lights versus your darks. Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. I mean, again, that's what this channel is all about. Anytime I can help anyone learn anything about art, it's what I'm here for and what I enjoy doing. So if you have any other questions in particular, just let me know. I'd be happy to demo and show you or anything like that. But then too, because like when you ask questions, it might prompt me to make might give me a different video idea than I've had or something like that. So I always really appreciate any questions you might have. But yeah, I mean, so when it comes down to painting, it's really about light and dark. So that's why like drawing from life and doing portrait drawings or still life drawings are so important, where you're just using that's not the shadow I want there at all. So I lost my train of thought there a little bit. A little messed up on this a bit. Yeah, the thing that makes painting work is the lights versus darks. Its shadow and value structure is what makes a painting a painting. All the color stuff comes secondary to that. So back in the day, I was always very worried about, how you picking colors and all of that, where really that's secondary to learning light and shadow and how to paint form. Once you learn how to paint form, you can come up with a convincing value painting with a full value range. Adding color is a lot more formulaic after that. There's just certain steps and whatnot that you can follow, certain color theory ideas out there, so it's a little bit more plug and play. You know, it's not as abstract or quite as difficult to learn as maybe some people might think. So I used to look at it all, I guess what I'm trying to say is I used to look at it all as one thing. I used to look at these beautiful paintings, digital paintings and whatnot, and always get so overwhelmed by the color and the color choices and whatnot. But again, all of that comes after good solid lighting and shadow and value structure. So I've been trying to do some more painting on the side myself personally. So like that's more of like a personal project for me at the moment. Some of the paintings that I'm working on, and the YouTube videos that I'm working on. So like that stuff I have to do after I get my work done, which this is work right here. Because this, this directly impacts my finances and whatnot. Creating videos and whatnot for YouTube does as well, but just not to the same extent. So priorities. And that's the thing too, like if you're looking to become a professional artist, like if this is something you want to do, as a living, like, by all means, go for it. Just know and understand that it is not easy to do. You have to be very self-motivated and like self-driven. I used to think I was like really, really self-motivated and driven to do it and whatnot. And then over the years, kind of realized, oh wow, while I have been very self-driven and self-motivated to do this, I'm a self-taught artist. At the same time, there is still just also like I need to do more. I need to do more, and so it's really a never-ending thing, right? So I'm always trying to find ways to push myself. So just like if you exercise or work out, how you have to push your body past out of its comfort zone in order to like see improvements and make the changes, whether you're trying to put on a little bit of muscle or lose a little bit of weight. What you get out of that is directly impacted by how much you're putting into it. So the same thing when it comes to art, and especially studying art, is you will get out of it what you put into it. So I've spent a lot of time studying and learning, and a lot of time trying to focus and work on my artwork, but I could spend more time as well. So that was a fun little panel. Actually, let me see. I wanted a little bit of white up here, but now I'm not so sure. Let me just, real quick. It still reads as a lighter tone. I think I might go with that. I don't know. I think it just feels a little bit better on the eyes, so. Alright, so this next panel here. Let's see, we got those guys up there. This one is kind of going to be the beast of the panels. This is going to be the first scene where we kind of see this area. It's a bunch of these like containment tubes that have people in them that their energy's being siphoned out of them. So I've got to kind of come in here and establish, like, I've got my sketches throughout the pages, right? I've got my layouts and whatnot. You can kind of see here my idea of how this is going to end up looking, like in this panel here. But I need to establish perspective for it and such. We're just gonna do one point real quick. I'm gonna just go ahead and see. If it about lines up with the lines that I have so far. This main one here. I think this essentially works. I think that's about, yeah, that's about where I'm going to want it. So I'm going to drag this perspective layer back up into the panel that we're working on here. Create a new layer. Set this as the reference layer. Concept art. I'm gonna go ahead and get rid of that layer. I want to redo this one a bit. I don't like. Cool concept art for like what type, like video games, animation, or like mainstream movie type stuff. Like what kind of concept art? Plus, then, like, are you looking for like character concept, or more so like the like hard surface concepts, like machines and robots, things like that? I don't know why I can't. So I want them to fade out as they get further back there. why that won't go the way. There we go. Hey, I appreciate that. I'll check that out on Discord. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, I've just been starting out using Kick. I haven't really used it too much, so yeah, I'll swing over there in that Discord and see what it's all about. Okay, cool. So more character concept. Yeah, I feel you. That's kind of like that's what I typically prefer as well. So that's pretty cool. The ellipse will go based on the perspective, which is cool. Just trying to figure out best way by going around this one. Just trying to get a feel for how I want to set these things up. We'll see if something like that might work. I'm going to try to go ahead and do something like that. So what we'll go ahead and do is we'll knock the opacity down on that. Alright. Let's do that on a vector layer. Figuring hopefully I set one of these up and then I'll be able to kind of duplicate it around a bit to keep the consistency. Yeah, but if it's anybody's first time here, you know, please follow, please subscribe. That helps out a ton. I really appreciate it. You just being here, watching, commenting is awesome. And if you're like on Twitch or Kick, be sure to subscribe on YouTube at NJ Valenti Art. Offer plenty of tutorial videos and such, so. So let's see here, let's clean up these lines here. I'm trying to think, let's see here, if I do So as I duplicate this, this is going to be see-through, and it's going to pick up all the lines underneath it. So see if I could fill this with white. That way it's got kind of like a backing to it. No matter how many times I turn off the sticky keys thing, man, it keeps... Alright, let's see. Now I wonder if I combine these two layers. I'm just trying to add some like detailing, some shadows and stuff. Before I duplicate the rest. That way it'll kind of cut down on some of the detail that I have to go back and forth and put in, right? Back to those first two in a bit. So that worked out pretty well. far as like using the white for that section there. Okay. Let's just try something quick. Let's just merge all those layers. Turn that for quick. Actually, keep on. So we added a little extra detail in there. We didn't need to, but that's okay. I'm going to pull all that out real quick. I mean, I drew traditional comics for a bunch of years. Like, like 10, 12 years or so like that. Like actually just drawing on a comic book art board, traditional pen and ink. So when it comes to doing digital now, this is like the first full comic that I'll be doing digital. After learning Affinity Designer and doing all the logo design stuff, where you create one element and you'll reuse that element, as many times as necessary for various things or even different projects and whatnot, just as a way of being more efficient and as opposed to having to recreate the same exact thing every single time, especially if it's a more technically demanding element. So in a case like this, where it's this very specific, a lot of detail. I want the detail to stay consistent, and I also don't want to be here for the rest of my life. I try to reuse some complicated elements like this if I can, I don't want it to look like garbage either. So like, if I try to replicate something that's a little more complex like this, and if it doesn't end up looking good, like it doesn't fit the perspective correctly, or something just doesn't read right about it, that's because I'm on the wrong layer, then I can change it or do something else with it and whatnot. But yeah, I like to try to reuse the elements if I can, just for consistency's sake. Because even doing all those duplications and such, I mean, that still took a certain amount of time. I'm going to leave these separate. Create a new Back out the vector brush. So yeah, this is one of those pages that's just going to take a little bit of time to actually just draw. But once I get certain elements in, just duplicating them around a bit, shouldn't end up being too bad, right? So when I'm filling in these like black areas here, I'm not filling it all in. I'll leave some like white space and whatnot. And what that kind of ends up doing is it kind of just like from far away will make it look like wires or maybe scraps of metal, something like in there, just to give it like a little more depth. Go ahead and do Alright, so we got our basic little sketch now and stuff. Yo, what's up, Tay? What's going on, man? How'd it go today? Alright, so we got those guys in there now. Ah, dang, man, okay. I hope everything's going alright, though. Hope everything is all good. This is that common project. It's called Eye Hand Voice. I started working on this with the writer James. We've been working on it on and off for like the last 12 years. So in between, like, you know, different life events and all that nonsense. So we've always kind of been in touch with each other, and now we're finishing it up. It's essentially like a detective agency that goes after, like, that handles like interdimensional, crazy, off-the-wall happenings. So I mean, it's a cool story. It's fun to draw because, like, it's a pretty open and crazy world. So there's just a lot of different stuff that we can have the characters do and go through and whatnot. So it's not stuck to just one genre per se. I'm not gonna try to get too complicated with this in here. You're working on certain things like this, you gotta know what you need to spend the time on versus what you don't really need to spend the time on. I'm way zoomed in here. I mean, this is how small they're going to be, so I don't need to get too crazy with a whole lot of detail. Just enough to, like, make it interesting and you know, make it seem like there's a lot of stuff going on in the background and whatnot. Like, we're just trying to create the illusion that there's thousands upon thousands of these things in here and whatnot. So I don't literally have to draw thousands upon thousands of them. I just have to make it seem like there's thousands. Yeah, it's definitely a fun story. It's a super cool story. And again, like, as an artist, it's just cool because there's, like, no limitations really. So you could really kind of just create some really off-the-wall stuff if you want. So kind of got something in there. Definitely add a little more depth to it once we get to like the gray tones and such. Definitely want to go ahead and pull these out of that layer. Nope, folder. Tricky thing would kind of be trying to keep these things in perspective the best that I can. Let's merge these and let's just kind of keep going here and see what we get this to look like. I mean, I may have gone through all of that to find out this is not going to be the solution. Actually, we're going to keep... So I'm going to come back in here, clean up some of these edges and lines a little bit more here in a bit. I just want to go ahead and kind of get these settled in. Some forward. Okay, it's not too bad. I think that's working out okay. Guess we might as well just do it one more time. I'm gonna throw all these in a folder. All right. So. Nope, that is certainly not going to give me the look I want. Alright, none of that's going to work. It's just in a certain perspective. So we'll go ahead and we'll quote unquote fake in the rest as we go here. Probably go ahead and do instead. It's just I'm gonna save my original layer just to have it. But other than that, we've got one layer for everything now. That way. Come in here, use the vector erase tool, which is by far one of the best features. Take out, oops, all these unnecessary lines. I'm not entirely sure what I'm gonna do with this top section, like how I'm gonna make more of these, or I don't want to do a lot of, I'm not trying to put a lot of detail up here, but I need to figure out some way of alluding to the fact that there's just more and more and more of those. But this panel is definitely the take some time. The second panel here's got quite a bit as well. Alright, let's save this. Alright. Get my sketch layer back. These guys up here. What I'll go ahead and do is I'm going to draw these guys out real quick. Actually, I won't use a vector for that. I'll use this. So these guys are going to be a main foreground element. So this is just going to be one black shape for foreground element. Alright, so we got them set up there now. I think what I do want to do... make it a bit bigger. Alright, because I want them to cover up that main part there. That way when we... So they're really way in the foreground, because then we've got don't need that one anymore. So I've got to get her up here running on this little bridge. Probably could use a little more. Detail. Yep, for anybody who that's new here, please follow, please subscribe. It really helps out a ton. I certainly appreciate it. I've been streaming the comic book process, the comic I'm working on more. I've got more how to draw videos planned. We've got a cool logo / branding project that, well, it's a tutorial video. I want to share the process of creating a kind of logo / mascot branding design. And then how you'd be able to go ahead and turn that stuff into like a product and whatnot. So that's a video I'll be working on. So follow, subscribe. And I really appreciate those who were able to hop on stream and chat a bit. As much fun as I have drawing, it's always nice to have, people hanging out when I'm doing it. Get to chat a bit. Although sometimes I do get a little lost in what I'm drawing. But I'm never ignoring chat. I have a few different streaming platforms that I'm streaming on, so sometimes it takes me a second to get back and forth between the screens. Alright, so let's cast shadows on the cape. Alright, so we got her in there. She's running towards them. That. We'll turn on the other layer here just to see kind of how everything is coming together. So what I'm going to end up doing is there's two ways I can go about kind of doing this. I can come up and erase out of this layer what I don't want behind her. I could also create another layer below her line art and create a white block out. Creating a white block out behind her would help in case I wanted to move that character around at all. If I do want to just erase this layer, I would duplicate it. That way I've always got the original. So if I'm going to do something destructive, like erase a portion of this layer away, I want to duplicate that layer and have the original still somewhere around. So in case that way, after I erase off of this layer, later, say I want to move the characters around and whatnot, I've got the original layer that I can come back to. So it's always good to duplicate and save your layer before you do anything that's going to be destructive to any layer or file or anything like that. The erasing method here, I've just got to make sure that I'm erasing everything. It'd help also if I would turn off of the vector layer, off of the vector eraser. Need that for that, this part at least. The only other method, just to show you real quick, if I was going to use it, would be to come behind this layer, create a new layer here, and then I would essentially just create an outline, and then I would come and fill it with white. So now this layer, but then both of these characters would have to be above this layer here for that white out to work. So you do it either way. But I'm going to go ahead and back that up. For right now, I'm going to continue with the erasing method, since we've already kind of established that. I just wanted to show you the block out method. Alright, so she's pretty well set up in there now. Alright, there you go. Hey, Max on Kick. Appreciate it for sure. Go ahead and follow. And then yeah, I'll grab the Discord and hop over there, see what that's all about. All right, let's see. Everybody over in Kick keeps coming in and telling me about the Kick Fam Discord, so I'm gonna have to look into the Kick Fam Discord. Either that or just a bunch of trolls. We'll find out, right? Yeah, so I mean, I'm streaming on Twitch, Kick, and YouTube. I would have to say that YouTube is kind of my primary kind of streaming service and platform and whatnot, just because I got like all the video tutorials and stuff up there as well. So I definitely encourage you to, if you are following me on Twitch or Kick, to also go ahead and subscribe to me on YouTube. That is where I upload all of my how-to videos. Again, these little details here, I'm not going to get too specific with. Not everything needs to be super perfect. When you're really zoomed out, you won't really notice these that much. They'll just kind of, you'll just pick up on them subtly in the background. Nothing's going to really pull your attention to them, anything like that, so I don't want to spend too long on this sort of detail. For me, as a comic book creator here, I like to, I'm not somebody who has an ultra realistic style. I'm not going to take 2-3 days on a page and make everything look super ultra realistic. For as much time, you know, as we took on these here, spent just enough time to get enough detail in them to then duplicate them out, so that way once you get them all laid out here like this, there seems to be a lot more information than on the just, you know, more detail with having them all here all next to each other than if you were to zoom in on just one and look at the detail on just one of them, right? So once you put them all together, you get a lot more information out of it. And all we're really trying to do is just create an illusion for the reader that certain things exist within this space, right? I'm a huge fan of like impressionist artwork, where they give you the impression that things are there, or an impression of something happening, or an impression of motion. And that's enough, and then our brain will fill in the rest of that information based on our experiences and what we know of the subjects that, you know, the subject that we're looking at. So I think that's a really great way to engage the viewer or the reader, pulling them into the work itself. So sometimes it's not about drawing something specifically. Maybe it's about leaving an element out, or maybe it's hinting at a particular element or thing versus actually drawing it out. And that impression that that thing exists is enough for the reader, the viewer, to buy into it as an actual experience and kind of create that suspension of disbelief. Now, once we've created that suspension of disbelief, we have to work very hard to make sure that we are maintaining it. So we don't want anything like tangents that would pull people right out of the thing they're looking at. Not for me here. I want to know, I want to try to figure out, well, how can I represent more of these or show that there are just more of these all the way down here and they just continue down without, again, having to go through all of that drawing process that we've already kind of done. Kind of want the lines to fade out a little bit. I don't want them to be too pronounced. It'll help when I shade too, because then I can kind of fill this area with some tones and other information. So. Alright, so we're going to hang out for just another little bit, and then I'm going to go ahead and hop off for the day. Got some other stuff to take care of. Yeah, I got some background stuff to do for YouTube. Got to work on some new thumbnails. Got to get everything set with the channel itself. So we'll just go ahead and we'll just continue to noodle a little bit. What I can do is, I'm on that layer there. Merge those layers. I want to erase. So I mean, that's how much information we're getting rid of, like most of this figure. And that's all we don't need much. But I mean, this is how you kind of take a complicated scene, you know, and break it down. You know, you just start with one spot, one part. Start with the base, the foundation of it, which we came in and we set the perspective layer, set our main perspective lines, got our main elements in there, and then we just spent time refining it, noodling it. You know, I definitely try for a smarter, not harder approach. By creating one element and then being able to duplicate it over and over again. Yeah. So I can come in here, I'll grab one of the guys as well. Copying the layer that's got nothing on it. So let's go copy, paste. Even if it's just the feet up there. I'll probably just go ahead and get all of them set up. Move on. Extra one in there. Oh no. Kind of lost my spot here. Alright, there's one, there's two. Alright, so I can at least merge these. I think we're about there. Know if this would be any faster. So, I mean, we could just erase it, or we could come in here with our lasso tool, lasso the area. and then just backspace. I've got to get her shoe there. So I see some of her foot. No, is that not the... Nope. All right, so I'm pretty happy with that. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think that's pretty good. Quite a bit of detail, yeah. I am curious. No, it won't let me erase a whole. All right, so let's just see. Let's brush density. I was hoping that it would help me blur that out, but that's not going to happen. So yeah, that's pretty good there. When I set the tones in here, we'll have some light source coming from down here. Just kind of maybe getting a feel for how I want to tackle some of this. Oh, that's what I wanted. So maybe mask that out next time I want to do that. But this is what I'm essentially thinking about for this panel here. I wanted this light source to be coming from below. So now I'm just going to spend some time coming in here and setting these tones. Yeah, because I mean, essentially, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to carve away some of the stuff. Like this is going to be. So now I got to figure out where. These guys are going to come up all the way to the top. I want her to be at the top as well. I just want to keep all my elements organized, so then we can find the bridge. Okay, so that's up there already. The bridge, we'll put. Okay, so setting this to multiply will I think, yeah, this will be it. So I'm just gonna have to repaint through some of this. Yeah, so I mean, essentially for this one, it's just pretty much grayed everything out, and now I'm gonna spend some time coming back and just pulling out highlights on that. Say for instance, like we gotta cut her out. Can also do this method. Kind of planning on quitting. I just want to make a little bit more progress. This bar is always, 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 always in the way. So I also see where we need... That might be an interesting effect. Okay, I like that one, I think, better. So essentially what I could do is... just do soft. Do about half of it. Wider the part that's closest to us, and then I could cut back in. Do something like that. From a distance, it doesn't look as good as I'd like. Alright, well, I'm just going to have to play around with this a little bit and figure out exactly how I want to go about showing that shadow. I want you to be able to see them in there, but I don't want it to be too much. So now I'm kind of like just that hard line erase there is kind of looking pretty decent. Yeah, thanks a lot, Russ. Appreciate it. On Twitch, I do have a section, Read EHV. If you click on Read EHV, it'll pull you over to the Duck webcomics, and you could read the story so far on there. We'll definitely be coming out with other ways of we'll continue to post there, and we'll probably have PDFs and stuff too at some point. But for right now, I'm gonna head out, take care of some other stuff and whatnot. I might continue to noodle away on this page a little bit, but if not, might see you at the end of the week, if not next week, for another stream. I'm trying to get a handle on the comic project, getting into a certain schedule here, and once I do, that will allow me to spend some extra time creating videos for YouTube, some more tutorials. So yeah, appreciate you being here. Thanks for stopping by and chatting. It means a lot. Don't forget to follow and subscribe, and always check me out on YouTube for new tutorial videos. You can support the channel by buying me a coffee. The link is on Twitch, Kick, and YouTube, and that every bit helps. That all goes to me being able to stream and create new how-to tutorials for everyone. So yeah, thank you all for the support. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much, Russ, for being here. And yeah, I'll see you all next time. Later.